This is Nicholas Duncan-Williams Ministries. You're about to watch a video from the Archbishop. It's time to feed your faith and starve your doubts.
Put your hands together and be seated. Thank you. Clap your hands, all you people. Shout unto God with a voice of triumph. Oh, your shouting is very, very low energy. It's still low energy. We began a journey this morning on a subject I believe affects us all. A subject that I have confronted and dealt with many times in my journey in life. A subject I have dealt with before I began preaching, and I have confronted and dealt with this subject for the past 48 years in ministry. And I've come to a conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, that no man, no woman comes into this world and leave this world without confronting and addressing this subject. It's a subject of betrayal. Betrayal. Nobody is free and exempted from betrayal. And especially if you are called and chosen by God to perform a special duty, whether from your family, from among your countrymen, it doesn't matter, or your brethren. Betrayal is a spirit. And the first time we heard about betrayal was in heaven. And when it comes to being betrayed, it has nothing to do with what you do good or bad, right or wrong. As a matter of fact, those who betray you, ladies and gentlemen, most of the times will be those you help the most and those you do good to the most. And those you go the extra mile, break your back for the most, are those who betray you. And one of the reasons for betrayal, or in the implication of betrayal, is to break your spirit and wound your spirit. The Bible said, a wounded spirit, who can bear a wounded spirit? The Bible said a merry heart maketh good like medicine, but a broken spirit dries the bones. Madua italuka salim maya. The spirit of a man will sustain him in his infirmity, but a wounded spirit, who can bear, who can endure it? That is the purpose of betrayal. You are betrayed so that your spirit will be wounded and your spirit will be broken. Proverbs 17:22. If you don't understand this secret, you can die prematurely. You can throw in the towel. You can sabotage your own destiny and future. When your spirit is wounded, when your spirit is broken. There are people who commit suicide, hang themselves, end it. They end it because they don't see their way out. I have dealt with so many of that kind. I've been there before in my lifetime when I was so betrayed and wounded and stabbed so deeply that I stood by and said, is there any meaning to life? And if this is what life is all about, why am I here? Betrayal will separate you from those you love the most. Betrayal will isolate you, take you into a land of isolation, because isolation leads to elimination. Betrayal. The first time we heard of betrayal was in heaven, when the name of a creation, one of God's creation by the name of Lucifer, betrayed the Maker. And just imagine how perfect, loving, kind, blameless God is. And yet, one that he created and invested so much into, betrayed him, turned on him, and moved 1/3 of the angels of heaven to back him. Just imagine how God's own creation can turn on him and make God look bad to the 1/3 of the angels of heaven. He succeeded to poison them and to make them believe that God is wrong and he is right. Now, if God himself, the creator, has to deal with betrayal, then who then do you think you and I? Who do you think we are? As long as you live till the day you die, especially if you are called, chosen, and anointed to be different from others, to accomplish something in this life, betrayal is something you must arm yourself because you deal with it. So the first time we heard about betrayal was in heaven. Lucifer betraying God. Number 2, Cain betrayed his brother Abel. Number 3, Absalom betrayed his father David. Please write down these things. Joseph was betrayed by his brethren, not by his enemies, but by his brethren. Every now and then, Jesus said, a man's enemies shall be those of his own house. You will be betrayed by loved ones, brethren, family, wickedness in your own house. His own brethren betrayed him. Samson was betrayed twice. By his wife first, second by Delilah, his girlfriend. Sometimes love can betray you. And sometimes what you love the most can betray you. You got to come to the realization. You must know these things. If you study history, and if you live a little long, you will understand that betrayal is part of the process and the journey of life. Ham betrayed his father Noah. Noah was the first righteous preacher on the earth. And he had preached righteousness for 120 years. Then after the flood, he got drunk and naked in his tent. Ham, who only survived because of the man that was drunk, he survived because of the righteousness of his father. He had forgotten that he wouldn't been alive to see the righteousness of his father if it wasn't for that same man. And he went to broadcast and to tell the whole world about his father's nakedness. He did that. He became self-righteous. He felt better than his father. That look at the preacher of righteousness. Behold, the preacher of righteousness. Look at him. I'm better than him. It is difficult to be a leader because most times you are surrounded by people, and every now and then when they see your vulnerability, they use it against you. Sometimes as a leader, people will ask me, Papa, how are you? You can't say I'm hurting. You can't say I'm down. You can't say I'm not feeling myself, because as soon as you say that it will be breaking news front page. Papa is not himself. He's not feeling well. He's hurting. What is hurting? Why? What? They will try to make sense of your pain. So sometimes you have to learn to be tough even when you are hurting, because they don't have to know you are hurting. As soon as they get to know you are hurting, you are finished. You know, Ahithophel said something about David, very, very powerful. He said to Absalom, give me 12,000 men, choose for me 12,000 men, the best of Israel. And I'll go after your father. And listen to the things he said. He said, I will attack him, number one, when he's weary. Number two, when he's weak-handed. I will attack when he's weary and weak-handed. Those are moments of vulnerability. And every man, as long as you live, it doesn't matter how full of the Spirit you might be, you face moments of vulnerability. You face moments of weariness when you'll be weak-handed. Then he said, I will attack him. Then I will make him afraid. I will make him afraid. And when he's afraid, I will threaten him. I will threaten his livelihood. I will threaten his future. I will threaten his security. I will threaten his reputation, integrity. I will threaten everything about him. And when he's in that stage of vulnerability, I will threaten him, and all the men around him will run. They will end up leaving him and saying that, you know what, we can't follow this man anymore. He's not in the best of mind, shape. Let's leave him. And he said, as soon as I make him afraid, and the people, his loyalists, and those around him, leaves him, I will strike him, capture him, and kill him with 12,000 men. So sometimes it's difficult to be a leader. It's tough to be a king because you can't be vulnerable. You cannot be weak. As soon as you show a little bit of vulnerability or weakness, the people around you, if they are not seasoned and mature, they will turn on you and betray you. And that was what happened in the days of Noah. His own son felt like he was better than his father. So he turned on him. The day when you think you are better than your father and your leader, you are in trouble. Tell somebody, as long as you live, as long as you live, never, never, never betray anyone, because it will come back to bite you. It's just a matter of time. It will come back to bite you. Oh, Kudali Salah. Ekanda kasalen kifalan wasilia atalandu sulund kufulu kafale mesula asalamada kusatas. It will come back to bite you. Yeah. Galatians 6:7. Be not deceived, for God is not mocked. For whatsoever a man sows, that he shall also reap. When will you reap? It wasn't specific, but he said you shall. You shall means before you die, you will reap what you've sown. And realize that whenever you sow, you reap more than you sow. When you put one corn in the ground, at harvest, you reap more than the one corn. So when you sow one evil, you reap more than the one you sow. Many, many evil will come to you. But it's just a matter of time. And people so forget that because God gives you time, you can always get away. No, you are not getting away. You know, the other day, Miriam and Aaron, Moses' siblings, he was younger. These were his elder brother and sister. They turned on Moses and said, does God speak by Moses alone? Who does Moses think he is? We are better than him by all standards. And Moses didn't hear. But may I submit to you, ladies and gentlemen, that he that created the ears and the eyes sees in secret and hears all the whisperings of our hearts. Moses didn't hear, but God heard. God heard. Miriam and Aaron, and the Bible said that God summons a meeting and said, meet me at the camp of the tabernacle. And when they met, Moses had no idea for the reason of the meeting. He had no idea. And God said, let me submit to you. I am Yah. I'm Yahweh. If there is anyone among you that calls himself a prophet, I, the Lord, speak to him through dreams and vision. But with my servant Moses, it's not so. How dare you? Who authorized you? Who gave you the right or the audacity to question his error? At that time, Moses had married an Ethiopian woman, which was against the law. It was against the Levitical law that no one from that particular tribe or race should marry from another country or nation or people. So Moses had erred. And they said, how can he claim he speaks to God face to face? How can he claim to be who he is when he's in violation of the ordinances of God? And they began to question Moses and said, something might even be wrong with God dealing with a man in violation. How can you deal with Moses when he's in violation? And God came to the scene and said, how dare you? I am the Lord. I choose to deal with whoever I please. Who are you to judge another man's servant? Whether he falls or stands, he falls and stands to his own Lord. Who made you a judge over another? Judge not that you may not be judged. And God, anger was rekindling against Aaron and Miriam. And the leprosy came upon Miriam immediately. And God deferred judgment against the first high priest of Israel, Aaron. And the reason was because there was no replacement at that time. If he became a leopard, he couldn't be first, he couldn't be high priest anymore in Israel. God didn't have a replacement because God does not operate in vacuums. So God said, I will defer judgment until the appointed time. And sometimes God can defer judgment to give us time to repent, to give us time to turn around. But that is not a license to continue doing wrong by others or doing wrong by God. That is not a license to continue in sin. Shall we continue in sin that grace may abound? No, God forbid. So sometimes God will hold back judgment to give us time to change our mind, to turn around and to do right by him and by ourselves and others. They felt like they were better than Moses because Moses had erred. Whenever a leader errs, whenever a leader misses it, it empowers ignorant people. It empowers amateurs to suddenly assume that they are better than leaders. But you got to be careful about that. Because it is God that judges, not you and I. He knows the end of all things. The other day Moses went to God and God told him, go meet Aaron, your brother. I'll talk to Aaron before you meet him. On his way to meet Aaron, God went after Moses to kill him. And the Bible said the Lord sought to kill Moses. And it was the wife that saved the situation because she was a daughter of a priest of Midian. And when the wife saw that God was after Moses to kill him, the Bible said it got to be about violation of an ordinance. So immediately she took a sharp stone and circumcised the son, and the Bible said, and God left Moses alone. And Moses had just come from the presence of God. They were talking face to face, and God could have told him, hey, listen, don't use any familiarity to breach my rules. You haven't circumcised your son. You better go and fix it before I come after. God didn't tell him that. The Bible said God went after him to kill him. And one time God said, Moses, speak to the rock. He smote the rock. And God said, you are out of order. Remove Aaron and his mantle so he can die. As long as he was wearing the mantle, he couldn't die. He said, remove that mantle, strip him of his office so he can die. And you yourself, put Joshua in charge and meet me at the mountain, I'll kill you. This God we serve is no joke. He's no joke. Never you think you know him. We'll never know him enough till the day we get out of here. The other day Paul said, he said, have I not seen Jesus? Then another time, he said, that I might know him and the power of his resurrection and the fellowship of his suffering. You can never know him enough. So, realize, Ham betrayed his father. And as we go on, Judas betrayed Jesus. Absalom betrayed his father David. Joseph's brothers betrayed him. Peter betrayed Jesus 3 times. Samson was betrayed twice by the wife and the girlfriend. Jesus. Somebody say Jesus. Let me also give you some of the signs of betrayal. When you see these signs, don't ignore it. Number 1 sign of betrayal is relevance. Relevance. There are people who will kill for relevance. They don't care the extent to which they go to throw their father, their mother, husband or wife or loved one under the truck, under the bars for relevance. To them, relevance is everything. They want relevance. They will not stop at anything for relevance and for recognition. It's one of the signs of betrayal. That was the problem of Lucifer. He wanted relevance at all times. He wanted to exalt his throne above the throne of the Most High. He wanted to be like the Most High. Relevance. Yeah. He wanted to be recognized. He wanted acceptance by all means, and didn't care about the implications of what he did to get relevance, who he undermined, who he destroyed, who he character assassinated to be relevant. Relevance. Are you that type or kind? When you see people like that, please don't ignore. Self-promotion is one of the signs. Self-promotion. The other day, Jesus said, he said, I know your works. And he said, I have something against you. You've met that woman Jezebel, who called herself a prophetess, teaching in my church, feeding my servants with food dedicated to idols and causing them to commit fornication. Who calls herself prophetess? Self-appointed. Self-promotion. Today there are people who was not ordained or baptized by anybody but by themselves. And the reason is because they feel they are so relevant, so anointed, gifted, and important that no one must lay hands on them. But if you look at the Bible throughout the ages, God has a pattern through which he exalts and lifts up his people. And it's always by the laying off of hands and by those ahead of you guiding you and showing you the way. Today, there are so many out there who are so huge and big, gifted, so anointed, that they don't need anybody to lay hands. Nobody is qualified to touch them or lay hands upon them because they are so anointed. No sense of accountability. You know, the other day I was talking to a lady. I haven't seen her for many years. And I said, what happened to you? She said, you can't believe it. I said, what happened? She was married on Saturday, and her fiancé came to her on Friday night and said, I'm calling off the wedding. When friends and loved ones had come from all over the world, and he said, what is the problem? He said, I can't tell you, but the prophet you introduced me to said I shouldn't go on with the marriage. And later, he canceled the marriage. And later on, that prophet went after her, that God said he should marry her. And somebody asked me, Papa, what are the signs of true and false prophets? I said, they are very easy. Number 1, check the morals. Look at the sanctification and the purity of the person, not the gift, not how sharp or accurate the person is. Check the morals. check the purity and the sanctification of the person carrying the gift. Jeremiah 1:5. Jeremiah 1:5. Look at Jeremiah 1:5.
Before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee. And before thou camest forth out of the womb, I sanctified
You see,
thee.
the first thing God does, when he calls, he sanctifies first. It is after sanctification that you are ordained. And there are so many out there have no purity, no sanctification, no morals, and yet are self-ordained. And the reason why they don't want anybody to ordain them is because they don't want to be accountable to anybody. And I'm scared of self-mates. There are a lot of self-mates out there. You check them out and they came from nowhere. They don't belong to any of the tribe of Israel. Even Jesus, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, was of the tribe of Judah. King Saul was of the tribe of Benjamin. Paul was of the tribe of Benjamin. Moses was of the tribe of Levi. David, the tribe of Judah. Which of the tribe of Israel do you belong to? That's why in this church from January to December, we have 12 tribes. If you are born in January, you belong to the January tribe. But for so many of you, you don't belong to any tribe because you've made it. You are your own man. You are your own woman. So you don't belong anywhere. You are a problem. Modaliko Salah. Woe to them that sit at ease in Zion. You are so mentally sophisticated and financially so stable with some deep pockets sitting pretty. So you think you don't need anybody. You are a joke. It's just a matter of time. One of these days, you're going to need somebody. So please find your tribe and commit to your tribe. Commit. You can't survive. Fish will never survive out of water. I did some planting on the impact grounds here. I brought some palm trees from somewhere and I planted them. And they all died. So I have to change the whole thing. And I called my guy and said, why did they die? He said, because the root didn't go that deep and they weren't receiving nourishment from the soil. You see, the reason why we all get sick is because our body lacks nourishment. And I see the plants there right now. If you pass by, you'll see. They uprooted the plant with the soil and went deep 7 feet below and put it in the ground to connect it to the soil in order for it to survive. Why are we sick? Why are we aging? You know why? Because our body came from dust, the soil. And we need the soil to feed this body with the necessary nourishment from the soil or the earth. And because they are putting chemicals in the soil, growing the food we eat with chemicals, when we eat, our body don't receive the necessary nourishment from the soil, so our body is malnourished. And we are lacking the necessary minerals that our body needs to survive because it came from dust. So as the years go by, we begin to lose all those vitamins. And the body becomes weaker and weaker because the things we are eating is not pure dust and earth and soil, which our body needs. That's why when people die, they put them in the casket. I see people crying. It's too late. What you are seeing is not the person. The person is gone, absent in the flesh, present with the Lord or the devil. What you see in the casket is the flesh, the dust, the house they live in when they are here. They don't hear your cry, and all those beautiful things we say about it, they don't hear anything. It's gone. It's done. You have anything to say, say it now. Betrayal. Self-promotion. You're not accountable to anybody. Self-promotion. They want everybody to know who they are. They sell themselves, and they don't care who they hurt and destroy for self-promotion. Competition. A competitive spirit. Yeah. They compare themselves to everybody. And the Bible said, woe! He said, those who compare themselves among themselves are not wise. They compete with others, comparing themselves to what others have. They have an evil eye. All those things are signs of betrayal. Don't ignore them. It's just a matter of time. Never forget what I'm about to tell you. The people you help the most of the time, will be the people who will turn on you, wound you, starve you, because the purpose of betrayal is to wound your spirit, break your spirit, so you don't recover. And that's why so many people, they throw the towel with the baby. They throw everything. They take their lives. They end their dreams. They never lift up their heads again. They give up. They never try again because of betrayal. But let me tell you something. Whenever you feel betrayed, whenever you are betrayed, it's an indication that you carry something and you are going somewhere and you are somebody. Look at all the people in the Bible who were betrayed, from God to Joseph to Samson to Daniel. You name them all in the Bible. Every one of them were carrying destiny. They were game changers. They were going somewhere. Whenever you are betrayed, realize that is because you are carrying a heavy duty cargo. Tell somebody, you're carrying a heavy duty cargo. You. Yeah, that is the reason for your betrayal. So give him praise. Put your hands together, somebody. Give me someone, give me verse 11. Give me the 11-point, Bishop. Division among brethren. Division among brethren is one of the things. The Bible said, a talebearer divides cheap friends. And one of the signs of the spirit of betrayal is when an individual begins to sow a seed of discord and division among brethren. He wants to see brethren, cheap friends, people who are together, they love each other, to divide them, put a wedge between them, and then they get happy when they do that. I've seen people who introduce their friends to loved ones, and suddenly they were circumvented. And next thing they saw is the friends they introduced to this best friend of theirs together, and they have become a castaway. They won't pick their calls. His call will not be picked. He's not wanted anymore. And they'll say, but am I not the one who introduced this friend to this person? Why are they so tied? And now I'm disadvantaged and I don't matter anymore. It's one of the signs of betrayal. Relevance. They want to undermine you. They're competing with your favor. They want to be better than you. I was in a country somewhere some years ago in the office of a president. Then a very important person came, and I was sitting down quiet, talking to the president, and the president said, well, how is your friend? He said, oh, I don't deal with him anymore. I said, why? He said, you know, Mr. President, I don't like people taking advantage of you. And this guy, he goes around using your name to get favor and everything. I don't like that. So I decided to just cut him off. He said, is that so? I said, yeah. I just sat there and I said, wow, this is how people destroy others. And I knew for whatever reason that the president was not deep to realize that he was being poisoned and used against an innocent person. And I prayed and I said, God, in the day that anyone anywhere is appointed to betray me, whoever they are, let them be disadvantaged. And let the relevant they seek to have elude them. And in the process of time, let it slip out of their hands. Say yes. Say yes. Hey. Kadula Kasalama Dalasit. And a lot of people are like that. You introduce them and you are finished. Yeah. They are so sweet and so nice to you till they get an opportunity to do you in. And they will finish you and starve you without thinking. And there are so many of that kind. Spirit of betrayal. Self-promotion. Competitive spirit. Give me the next point, my bishop.
Division amongst brethren.
Division amongst brethren. Go ahead, next point.
Reap what they sow.
Again.
Reap what they sow.
And you see, at the end of the day, the thing that people don't realize is that you will reap what you sow. Before you die, before you close your eyes, you will reap it. And when it comes to reaping it, it will always be more than what you did to others. It's just a matter of time. So some people say, oh God, why me? Why me? What have I done? What have I done? Why me? Why not you? It's coming back to bite you. So as long as you live as much as is possible, don't betray anybody to justify your pain or to justify your right. You and I have no right whatsoever. And you see, when I begin to go into the message, you realize that David betrayed Ahithophel. That is where the whole thing started from. David betrayed Ahithophel by taking Ahithophel's grandson and killing Ahithophel's grandson-in-law. Bathsheba was Ahithophel's granddaughter. Ahithophel had a son. As we go ahead, you'll see. And his son gave birth to Bathsheba. And Bathsheba was married to Uriah. And it was Ahithophel who brought Uriah because he wasn't a Jew, but the guy was good in intelligence. So Ahithophel brought him in because of his loyalty to David. And when David inquired about this beautiful Uriah, who is she? David was told that that is Ahithophel's granddaughter. And still he went for her, slept with her, and killed the husband. And Ahithophel got offended. But you see, Ahithophel broke certain rules. Even though Ahithophel was the wisest man that ever lived, Ahithophel was better than Solomon. Solomon had wisdom. Ahithophel had the counsel of the Lord, and counsel is heavy. The Bible said when you heard the oracles of Ahithophel, it was as if a man had inquired from God. The guy was no joke. He was from the land of Gilead, but he couldn't deal with pain and offense, and he ended up dying. If you look at all those who betray others, they die prematurely and they don't die well. Ahithophel hanged himself and died. Judas hanged himself and died. Absalom was hung by a branch of a tree with his hair and died. Look at the scriptures, they all don't end well. If you want to end well, as much as is possible, don't betray anybody. Because if you do, before you die, you pay for it. It doesn't matter how long you live. You can live 120 years, you will pay, you will reap what you have sown. God will make sure you don't die till you reap what you've sown. The day you die means you have received the punishment. Mercy me die. Wabotan su Matumi bu Masiniye Namini Jesus better Oine Mercy me die Wabotan su Insuritwa Mesuro Every makumetu, mercy me die, wabo tanido, namini Jesus betna. My faith is be on nothingness. but Jesus' blood and righteousness. I dare not trust the sweetest flame, but only lean on Jesus' name. On Christ the solid rock I stand. All other ground is sinking sand. All other ground is sinking sand. You know, here, I'm just giving you introduction of the message. You can't ignore these signs when you see them. Somebody said to me, how do you deal with betrayal? And I said, first, the awareness. And second, realizing that it's a spirit. And number three, that it can use anybody. And number four, especially those you've helped the most. And number five, it's part of the human nature to be betrayed. As long as you are in this flesh and blood, somebody will betray you. And it's always those you love the most and you care about the most. They will betray you so you can feel the pain, the pinch, and the wound to break you. When an enemy betrays you, you can handle it. The other day, David said something very powerful. Look at Psalm 55 from verse 12. From verse 12 to 15, Psalm 55.
For it was not an enemy that reproached me.
You see, this is what makes it painful. Painful. And you see, David was the one who started the whole thing. No? He betrayed Ahithophel. But you see, David was also so good that he knew what to do. Ahithophel didn't pray. Absalom didn't pray, but David prayed. David was a president of the state of Israel. He had an army. He had reserve troops. He could have released the reserve troops to go after Ahithophel and kill Absalom, but he didn't. He resorted into prayer and said, oh Lord, turn the counsel of Ahithophel into foolishness. And decided he wasn't going to go after them. He wasn't going to depend on the arm of flesh, but prayer. There is something about praying, even when you are guilty and in violation and you are down. David prayed and God gave him the upper hand. Ahithophel didn't pray because he thought he was right. Hey, Absalom didn't pray because all of them testified their offense and thought they were right. And God said, because you ignored me and you ignored the fact that vengeance is mine and I will punish it. Because you ignore me, I will not avenge you. And David said, God, I have erred. I'm in violation, but I still acknowledge you. I still recognize the fact that vengeance is yours. And God said, because you did that, I will avenge you. And the man who didn't kill, who didn't cause adultery, the two of them died. And the man who violated the law of God rather lived. You see, hear me, when it comes to this God, he has his ways. He has his ways of doing things. And if you ignore his ways and you try to make sense of God with your head, you are in trouble. We can never make sense of God because God is a spirit. Kutala hasata. Ayalanda kusind kifanda kuwan asandi kun kilei tukulu salahasa. Don't even try it. With all your PhD and your masters, don't try it. You don't stand a chance. Go ahead.
For it was not an enemy that reproached me.
He said it wasn't an enemy.
Then I could have borne it.
He said if it was an enemy, I could handle it.
Neither was it he that hated me that did magnify himself.
He said it wasn't somebody who didn't like me, resented me, don't like me. Then I can understand.
Then I would have hid myself from him.
Yeah.
But it was thou.
He said,
a man my equal.
He said, it was thou. You see, when David said a man my equal, it means that this dude was no joke. Because David was a king. He was a priest. He was a prophet. He was a man after God's own heart. So when he called somebody his equal, it must tell you the depths the person carried and who the guy was. This guy, Ahithophel, was no joke. He's the great-grandfather of Solomon. He was no joke. He said, a man, my equal, had the same status like me. He was my counselor. Go ahead and listen.
My equal, my guide,
my
acquaintance.
David said, you guided me. I sat in counsel for you for guidance. That was how heavy and deep this man was. This dude was no joke. Go ahead.
We took sweet counsel together.
He said, you and I sat in counsel. We took sweet counsels together. Go ahead.
And walked unto the house of God in company.
We went to church together. I never went to church without you. We were in company. We went to the house of God together. We fellowship together. We were as one. Go ahead.
Let death seize upon them.
So David said, God, I know I'm in violation. I'm no an heir. But this guy, Ahithophel, and my son, they must not go unpunished. Let death seize on them fast. Let them be finished. Go ahead.
And let them go down quick into hell.
He said, God, I want them not to go slowly, but quick. Someone say, quick.
For wickedness is in their dwellings and among them.
He said there is wickedness in their dwellings. Dwellings, wickedness.
As for me, I will call upon God, and the Lord shall save me.
You see what he did? You see what he did? This guy was no dumb. He was no dummy. He was the president. He could deploy the army, the security intelligence, the reserve troop. But he said, me, I won't use the arm of flesh. If I use the arm of flesh, because I'm already in violation, they will say I'm using my power. So God, you are the only one I can depend on. On this matter, I need you. And you know what God did? God defeated Ahithophel's counsel. That the guy, as good as he was, the Bible said for 40 years, he never gave David a counsel that did not work. And for this time, there was a guy who came to David and said, David, I've seen your pain and all that you are into. I want to join you and help you to fight your son and Ahithophel. And David said, don't join me today. What I'm dealing with, being with me won't help me. But I want you to go and join my son Absalom. And tell my son Absalom that you are on his side and you are with him. And you are not for his father. And be close to him, serve him, be loyal to my son. And he said, wait. When he gives Ahithophel a counsel, whatever he tells Ahithophel, make a counter counsel. Because if he follows Ahithophel's counsel, I'm dead. So this guy went, I'll show it to you as we go ahead. He went to join Absalom. And he said, I've come to serve you like I served David your father. But as for today, my loyalty is to you and not to your father. So foolish young man. And he bought into it. So when Ahithophel gave Absalom a counsel, this guy brought a counter counsel and said what Ahithophel has said is true. His counsel never fails. But he said, Absalom, you know your father. Your father is no joke. You know him. If we follow Ahithophel's plan today, we are all dead. So postpone Ahithophel's plan. Let's devise another strategy and we'll follow Ahithophel's plan another day. The Bible said when Ahithophel saw that Absalom won't go with his counsel, he went home, set his house in order, and he hanged himself because he knew he was finished. And that was exactly what happened. David realized that there come a time in all of our lives when the arm of flesh fails. And at that time and moment, You and I need to deploy the Most High. For the Most High rules in the affairs of men. And David said, God, I'm in violation. I've erred. I'm vulnerable. But yet I need you. Ahithophel, he's right. Absalom, my son, is right. But they don't recognize you. They don't need you. They are arrogant. They feel they are right. But I'm wrong. And I still need you. Can you help me? I need a mercy, Lord. Mercy. Help! And God said, whosoever shall call upon my name, I'll respond. You know what? I'll stop here today.
Thank you for watching. If you want to support this ministry to share the gospel across the nations, give using the following options on your screen. God bless you for your generosity.